This video is instruction for Workbook 9.2, Estimating Products. So let's go over a few preliminaries. A product is the answer to a multiplication problem. I know that's review for you. And the second thing is I'm going to change the directions a little bit on the worksheet or the workbook page. So the directions say estimate the product, write the method. But instead of doing that, I want you to round, then multiply, which is basically the same thing. Although we're going to use one standard method, we're going to use the method of rounding. And I just think my directions are clearer. So remember that when you rounding is deciding which number a given number is closest to on a number line. For instance, in this problem down here, 4 times 32, we are going to round the 32. And if you look, here we have a number line, and here's 32. Is 32 closer to 30, or do we bump it up to 40? Do we round it down to 30? Do we round it up to 40? Well, visually, we can see it's much closer to 30. It's right here on the number line. So we are going to round 32 to 30. So let me just go back over a little bit about rounding. When you're right in the middle, if the number is 35, so you're right in the very middle spot, you round up. If you make it halfway, you get to go all the way. So remember that if you're at the midpoint, which is the 5, then you get to round it all the way up to the next number. So that's just a little review on rounding there. So on this problem, you are going to round the larger number, and then you're going to multiply. So we're going to stick with the 4. We're not changing it at all. And your workbook page has 2 lines. So this is what I want you to do on those 2 lines. You're going to say 4 times, and we've already decided that 32 is going to round to 30. So that's the new problem that you're writing. And then you're going to write the answer here. And the way you're going to get that answer is you're going to do the find the math fact, add the zeros method. So what is 4 times 3? 4 times 3 is 12. Whoops. 4 times 3 is 12. And then we're going to add the 0 because we're actually multiplying 4 groups of 30 and not 4 groups of 3. So you have those 2 lines. On the first line, I want you to write the new problem as you've rounded it. On the second line, write your answer. So let's look at this one. And I've put another number line on here. So now we have 98. We're trying to decide what are we going to round 98 to. So if you look here on our number line, it's right there. Is it closer to 90 or closer to 100? It's closer to 100. So this 98 is going to round up to 100. We're going to keep the 7 the same. We're going to put in our multiplication sign. 7 times 100, which that's a pretty easy one, I know. So that's going to be 700. But if we wanted to do it the find the math fact, add the zeros way, we say 7 times 1 is 7, add 2 zeros. So here we are, we have a 3-digit number. We are deciding, is 182 closer to 100 or closer to 200? Think about that. What's it closer to? I hope you said it's closer to 200. So we are going to write down 5 times 200, and then we're going to do the find the math fact, add the zeros. What is 5 times 2? It is 10. Oops. It is 10. And then we're going to add the 2 zeros. So our final answer is 1,000. Now 5 times 2 equals 10. And that 0 goes with that 10. We have to add those two zeros on. All right, now we have 8 times 42. So we are going to round the 42. What would 42 be closer to on a number line? Would it be closer to 40, or would we bump it all the way up to 50? I hope you said, oh, it's closer to 40. So 8 times 40. Then we multiply 8 times 4. That's 32. Add 1 0. Again, we have a 3-digit number. We're trying to decide, is 281 closer to 200 or 300? Sometimes a number line is helpful, but sometimes if I simply write down the two numbers that I'm deciding between, it helps me. And I can say, 281 is closer to 300 because I'm all the way up into the 80s. I'm a big fan of writing things down. So we're going to have 6 times 300. We're going to do find the math fact, add the zeros. 6 times 3 is 18. Add 2 zeros. Put our comma in the correct spot. You will have some problems written vertically as well. Same process. And you can write them horizontally if you want to. Horizontally is like this, vertically is like this. So you can rewrite them horizontally if you want. But it doesn't matter whether they're horizontal or vertical, the method is still the same. So 89, is that closer to 80, or should we bump it up to 90 if we're rounding it? Well, I hope you said we need to bump it up to 90, and it's going to be 90 times 3, and 90 times 3. Let's find the math fact. What is 9 times 3? 9 times 3 is 27, and add 1 0. Same thing here. This one is also written vertically. 709. Is that closer to 700 on a number line or 800? It's closer to, I hope you said 700. We're only 9 above that. Times 4. Now we're going to find the math fact. Add the zeros. 7 times 4 is 28. Add 2 zeros because we have 4 groups of 700, not simply 4 groups of 7. All right. You also have some word problems at the bottom of your paper. And remember that when you do word problems and when word problems use the word about, it means you're going to estimate. And so in 4th grade, we usually round to get an estimate. So if it says, what is the score? What's one of the questions here? About how many pencils does someone have? Well, you know you're going to have to round something. They do not want an exact answer. So you're going to have to round. So don't forget that. When you see the word about, you're going to have to round, and that will make it easier to get your final answer.